Hello, my name is Octavio Duarte. I'm a statistician, and I'm here to speak to you about ReValidate. ReValidate is two things. It is a company, and it is also a particular project we've developed for this hackathon, the NoirHack. It's just been born recently, but we've been doing some further work already. The motivation we had is to work around scientific revalidation, and I'll share some examples of the kind of problems we want to address first. By one side, we've seen there's seemingly the US is aiming toward a strong emphasis in scientific revalidation for their spending in science. But we can see some of the motivations, maybe. I haven't spoken personally to the US president, but you can see that there's a lot of fairly famous cases in which spectacular scientific results have gone very far while being based on tampered or otherwise non-really valid data. This is an example, a researcher working on the field of Alzheimer who had a huge research plan which reached phase 3 trial and was really based on doctored images, so it was just pictures edited by hand. That was the evidence. And I even have a favorite here, who is a social sciences researcher working on honesty in scientific research, who was accused of forging her findings too. So this is a widespread problem beyond these anecdotal examples. And that's why it said there's a replication crisis in science in general. The space we chose to work as an example is biomedical sciences because it's a big and well-understood space, and because it has a peculiarity, which is it's fairly strongly regulated, it has heavy regulatory burdens, and therefore adding a layer of technology, it makes us look fairly nimble towards what they already do. For people working on medicine, adding the layer of technology we are proposing will be very little effort and save them potentially some very costly regulations. There's some data here about the general perception on the field of biomedical sciences that it's fairly hard to replicate results. I'll speak in a minute about what that implies. And it's a very huge market. Just in the USA, and just considering public data for private and public funded studies, it's close to $1 billion yearly. So this is basically the composition of what we could call replicability issues. I'll try to be fast. A study is non-replicable when you grab the published paper and you can't come to the same results. And that might be due to several issues. And we mainly deal with all of them in our product. By one side, you might be lacking specifications about the involved materials. This would be, for example, molecules which are used on the experiment, or any other impact, physical impacts. Then there's the study design and the data analysis. This is the statistical part, the one I know best. And then there's the laboratory protocols. These two, in a way, are documentation. For software, they will be documentation. And these two, in the end, entail two very easy to understand problems. One is dog-short data, so data that's been manipulated. There's deep and very guilty schemes of manipulation, like the ones I showed, in which somebody just intentionally manipulates the data and they change it fundamentally. And there's stuff which I might call innocent even, like somebody sees a very weird point, or a point that's pretty much against their conceptions, and they just ignore it because it seems to be an error or to be noise, but maybe it isn't. That should be justified when you publish. You should publish the point and say, I saw this, but I'm ignoring this because I believe it's not worthy of attention. But if you don't publish it, you are modifying your research, and it's not already statistically valid anymore. And the other issue is the publication of a truth criteria. The truth criteria is you should state very early on your research what's your notion of a success. What would happen if you are right, and what would happen if you are wrong? And you need to say it beforehand, before seeing the experimental data. You can change later, but again, otherwise it's not statistically valid, right? So those are the two things we do with this platform. What we've done is, one thing also is that currently there's mechanisms that validate your research, but they are mostly trust and prestige based. Basically, if a big enough lab, a big enough corporation, a big enough university says you are being honest, you are honest, and that's it. As we've seen with the anecdotal evidence I found, that's not always the case. And this is no real mechanism. Prestige doesn't work that way. It doesn't do science. So we want to prove by design and not by promise. We've created a platform to show our product. And even though we plan to work on several applications in the field of scientific data integrity attestation, this is one which we finished, implemented, and published as an app. In this case, we are working with revalidation. The hypothesis here is you are, for example, a big lab. You've seen a promising result in a first experiment, so something which has a small data set and has been carried, for example, by an individual researcher or a small team on a university, and you want to go further with the results, but you don't want to trust the same person to do it again because you want a neutral opinion. In this case, with our platform, you'll anonymously hire a revalidator, and the communication will be as anonymous as possible. You'll publish your experimental requirements and your truth criteria, and that's the only thing they will receive. You will commit a bounty on chain for whoever complies with all these requirements. They will grab the task, and they will send the data. Particularly your truth criteria will be encoded on chain as a zero-knowledge circuit. What this allows is your statistical tests will be run on the data before the data reaches you. So you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can prove to others you haven't touched it, but you'll see the results of your first truth criteria. Not only that, but a Merkle tree root will get published on chain. And what this allows is if you later publish your data set as a researcher, and it's the same as what you received before touching the data anonymously from your validator, you can prove without any doubt that the data hasn't been tampered with. It's a pristine data set. So in here, you publish an experiment, somebody grabs the bounty, they do the replication experiment, they create a data set that's according to your needs. Your test is run over it when they publish it, and what you, as somebody who asked for a revalidation, receive is the result of the test and the Merkle tree root, not the data. If you checked they fulfilled all your requirements, you will pay the bounty, and you'll also receive the data set. But the Merkle tree root and the results of your first truth criteria have already been committed onto the blockchain. And again, what this ensures, if you now have a tool, which is the Merkle tree root of your dataset, to prove it's not been tampered with. You are not as the people I've shown in the beginning in my examples. So our business model, we've been developing it a little further already, but the idea is the two streams of income. One is a commission over each bounty, but we also probably will get hired to do custom circuit creation because most experiments are different, both in the design of the truth criteria, the statistical tests, the data treatment, etc. But there's also regulatory burdens in different countries and organizations, regulatory needs, and that probably will need a lot of bespoke work. And we have a fully qualified team, which is really, it has like two sections. We've got great crypto developers with a ton of experience in zero knowledge, but we also have the soft skills. We have scientists. We've just added Julieta, who is she's a sociologist researching open science research practices. And we believe this is key to work on this field. We've done some review in the numbers of the, again, only medicine, biomedical sciences sector. And I guess that's all about this product in particular. I invite you to join us bringing proof by design into scientific revalidation processes. Yeah, if anybody has questions, I will be delighted to answer them.
So you mentioned that other people will ask for another proof. Why not, like whenever there are statistics, why not show a proof that the statistics are right?
Well, the interesting part of, so I believe there's a ton of products that could be designed to work in this space. This is the one we chose for the hackathon, and I wanted to show something which is finished. The platform's online, I can show it to whoever wants to look at it. And the problem with doing it yourself, it's harder to prove the data isn't tampered with because you are motivated. When, in this case, we imagine you did your own experiment, you like your results, but you want to be both, you want to ensure your result further, but you want to do it in a way that nobody can doubt you, so you hire a third-party lab. And you do that because you want to be able to prove you haven't manipulated the data. The third-party lab has an anonymous relationship with you. They don't even know what you want to prove. They will follow a procedure and measure some metrics. And what this implies is they are totally impossibilitated from manipulating the data. That's why we are bringing them in. Also because in medical sciences, that happens. You need a revalidator. What we are doing is grabbing a procedure that already exists and adding a layer in the middle, which is nimble because the process is already very complex. And eventually, if we got adequate regulations, could make it speedier and easier for people. If you want to do it yourself, it's different. We had an idea for that, which is to create zero-knowledge hardware that will always post on the blockchain first the result before showing it to you, so you can't censor it.
Right.
But it's a different product which we haven't developed. That's the only reason I'm not showing it. So doing it yourself is good, but it's harder.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you for the talk. Just maybe a more general comment. We might perhaps have thought about this. As to my understanding of academia, the reason why people don't re-evaluate other people's data is that, like, the currency of academia is publications, and publications are published if there is a novel result. Like, academia doesn't reward repetition and doesn't reward even negative results. You have to prove something positive. And maybe, I don't know, we could think of ways to encourage people as part of their work to do more validation and re-evaluations of other people's work. Otherwise, people who are best qualified to do these re-evaluations, they won't do it because they'd better spend their time doing something novel because that's what they're rewarded for.
Thanks for asking that. So in this case, this is not academia. This is medicine. There's industrial fields are different. I also, in the list of people I've shown, for example, I come from industrial science. I do agriculture. My friend Julieta is in the academia, for example. Industry is different because eventually you are betting on your product, which, you know, it's a little ugly to say about medicine. You are not betting, supposedly, but I don't have a sophisticated enough English to find a better word. And they will revalidate, and it's valuable to them because they don't want to have a flop. Again, the word's not adequate for medicine, right? You don't want to kill people because your product's not good enough. The same with food. You don't want to waste food in agriculture. Academics are a little different, but I believe they are a very interesting market. My original idea when I saw Noir's technology was an Aztec network, something I believe this company could move into as a new product also probably, is a network of scientific publication and revalidation, because there's a huge monopoly in scientific publications, which very few private institutions benefit a lot from publication. They charge both the researchers and the readers and the institutions, and they produce nothing. And what that implies is there's a huge opportunity to replace them. And I believe, for example, having private reviews, zero knowledge peer reviews would be a great tool for science in the future. And probably if that was created, there could be a kind of currency across researchers, and you could give a higher value to revalidation and negative results and remove the skew by creating a new system which is addressing this problem, from the beginning. So it's as valuable to go back to a previous result as to create something new and flashy. And that could be a solution. I would love it. Again, it's a bigger problem. I didn't want to show smoke to you. I wanted to show you a finished product. But that's a space in which we would like to move. Thanks for your ideas. Thanks a lot.